Hello everybody, you are listening to Chatting Up the Irish. Tonight I'm speaking with a girl by the name of Una Ni Fhlannaghain. She's originally from Craughwell in County Galway, but she now lives on Inishmeon. That is the middle island of the Aran Islands. She's a harpist. She has toured all over the world. She has toured and supported some very, very famous names. And we're going to have a chat with her about where she's living now and her musical experiences. So hang with us for about 30 minutes. I hope you enjoy the show. Please like, share and comment below. Hello everybody, you're very welcome to Chatting Up the Irish. I am speaking with a woman who is a harp player. She has toured all over the world and we're going to talk about her musical abilities and where they came from. But she lives in the most amazing place in Ireland. It's in the west of Ireland. It's off Galway, one of the middle islands of the Aran Islands. It's Inishmeon. Una Ni Fhlannaghain. Ava?
Una Ni Fhlannaghain.
Ni Fhlannaghain. Tá fáilte bhfuil Una. How are you?
Gur míle maith am mé. Tá mé go hiintach gur míle maith. I'm really good today. Thank you for asking. How are you doing?
I am fine. I just, in your honor, Una, I decided to put up on my Zoom background the scenery of the Aran Islands, and Una's sitting there, and that's her real scenery. That's actually her outside. So it's beautiful.
This is me outside the house. Yeah. Look, I'll even move fast and you won't see any glitches because it's not virtual. It's real.
Yeah. This is virtual. I wish it wasn't virtual, but it is. So Una, it's great to talk to you. So you are from Craughwell originally, Craughwell in Galway.
Yeah, so Craughwell is a small village in the east side of Galway. It's not a very well-known village. People would know the neighbouring towns of Athenry and Lochray better, but that's where I was born and grew up.
And you grew up there, and did you learn your music there?
The short answer is no. So my dad's from Clare, my mom's from Dublin, and they met at Una Ni Fhlannaghain, which of course, as you know, is one of the biggest Irish festivals. It's actually the biggest festival of folk music in the world. So they got together, got married, and had me, and Dad got a job in Craughwell. And they were both really passionate about music, of course, and they wanted to give that to their children. So I was number one, and there was no escape. I was 3 and Mom brought me to my first violin class in New Inn, actually, and then I played violin for 7 years, and I had a succession of different teachers, but there wasn't actually any full-time music teacher in Craughwell at the time. And then when I was 10 I started the harp, and I ended up going to Kathleen Loughnane inside in Galway. So
Kathleen, yes, Kathleen, I love her. I met Kathleen. I was teaching traditional singing in the Catskills at the Irish Arts Week, and Kathleen was there one of the years that I was there, and we had a great time. She's a lovely, lovely person.
She is. I was incredibly lucky to have her as a teacher. She was a game changer. I feel like my work has been a product of many things. Like obviously my parents' dedication to music education, and then secondly, my living in Craughwell has had a really weird influence on my life, because when I was small, despite the fact that there was no music teachers there, one of Ireland's best known harp makers lived there, and Mom knew his wife socially. So there wasn't a lot of harpists or harp makers in Ireland at the time. In fact, there was only 4-ish. There was only 4 full-time, put it that way.
Yeah.
And but it was just pure chance. Mom knew his wife socially. So when I stumbled across a harp and Mom saw my interest, she said, "Would you like to play the harp?" And I was like, yeah, actually, maybe that would be cool. And she then knew where to go to try and get a harp, which was more than 99% of the humans in Ireland at the time. You know, it was hard to get your hands on an instrument. So living in Craughwell, funnily enough, did have a big logistical impact on my future career. And then I probably, of all of those things, the next biggest thing was getting Kathleen. The man and his wife, Paddy Cafferty and Tony, recommended Kathleen as a teacher, and I was lucky enough that she had a slot and Mom would drive me into her. And like, she is just the most gracious human. She is an excellent educator, and she's just so musical, and she's so patient, and she's so kind. And I was just such a hormonal teenager, and I was up and I was down and I was bawling and I was blah, blah, and she was just with me all the way. And so grateful to have had her.
Fantastic. And did you ever go to, like where I'm from now, Gertrude, there's the Tubbercurry Summer School, there's a Keju, there was the Harp Festival in Keju, and there'd be a summer school there, and Drumshanbo, Joe Mooney Summer School, and then there's the Willie Clancy Summer School. Did you ever go to any of those as either a pupil or a teacher?
So when I was small, the harp wasn't offered in the Scoil Saoire Willie Clancy. It's since been added to the roster, which is just wonderful. But my dad being a proud Clare man, of course, we ended up going to Scoil Saoire Willie Clancy every year. So that was probably our most consistent festival. And then I did end up going up to Keju once or twice to compete. And I remember being like, really impressed and enjoying the vibe and seeing such a picturesque town. It's so beautiful. And I love their statue. They have a statue of Carlin right in the middle, don't they? And I think they've won Tidy Towns awards. Like that place is like a postcard.
Yeah, they've won many Tidy Towns. I used to teach in Keju as well at the summer school, and Joe Mooney as well. So it'd be great because you'd have, let's say, Willie Clancy. I never went to Willie Clancy, but then all the pupils would come up to Tubbercurry. Or else the pupils would come to Tubbercurry and then go to the Joe Mooney. And then you finished off with Keju. And then I'd go over to Bath, over to the festival in Bath. And I'm sure I used to have a great old time altogether. But yeah, I mean...
I'm surprised you survived the lack of sleep.
I know, but something... when I was that age, well, it's not that very, very long ago, but I remember when we were, let's say, in our 20s, we'd go to sessions at night and we'd go to work from the session. I mean,
wow.
You'd never do, I wouldn't be able to do it now. But I mean, that's how crazy we were, and it was, or else you ended up dancing all night long, set dancing all night long at a Cayley, and then you'd go to a party afterwards, so.
Absolutely.
A great life.
I'll tell you a fun thing, which is that this year the Scoil Saoire Willie Clancy is virtual, and I'm honoured to have been asked to teach at it. So I've just finished teaching at it for the weekend. It was such a pleasure. And anyway, it was just hilarious because weren't my students all from America, and they were so dedicated. They got up at 4:30 a.m. in order to be at their computers and harps by 6 a.m., which is 11 a.m. here, and when the classes start. And I was just so impressed with them. But I thought to myself, what a curious reversal. Usually I'd be staying up until past 4:30 a.m. when attending the Scoil Saoire Willie Clancy. They're getting up at 4:30 a.m.
There you go, Una. But you would teach, you do Zoom classes as well, do you?
So I taught full time. I've been teaching the harp informally since a teen, but I've been teaching formally for... Yeah, I'm a teacher. I love teaching music. So I just love it. It's one of my favorite things.
If there was somebody over here who wanted to do classes?
Yeah. So the thing is, though, that at the moment I'm working on a recording and I'm really obsessive, and I find that if I can't, I'm not very good at doing two things at the same time. So I'm currently on a break from one-on-one, but I absolutely adore teaching. And when I am invited to do some, significant festival or something is put alongside performing, of course, I'm more than happy to do it. I hugely enjoyed doing the week. And it was so pleasurable, actually, like the word in the street is, oh God, we've all got screen fatigue, and isn't Zoom so tiring, and it's all terrible, and we're not getting the desired learning outcomes. And I really hear that. There's a truth to that. But one really interesting thing is that these people in America got a very real, very live Irish teacher who is utterly immersed in the culture, coming straight into their sitting room. And that accessibility is so huge as well. But then another really fun thing was that I'm here on Inishbyan, and one of the students requested to be taught Inisheer. So I did out this nice student arrangement of it. And on their last day, I said, right now, lads, we're going to learn this. And then as a treat at the end, I put the phone onto the Zoom meeting, and I brought the phone with me down to the pier. And I said, look at this now. and I was able to show them Inisheer across the water. So,
Yeah.
you know, you can do creative things with it as well. It's,
Oh, absolutely. I
yes,
mean, you can. I
yeah,
mean, without Zoom, we wouldn't be doing this, and people wouldn't be hearing
exactly.
about your travels. I mean, coming from Craughwell. So last September, you decided you were going into Inishmaan for 1 week, and you ended up staying there. I think that happens to a lot of people, Una.
Yes. So I had actually been there's a brilliant medieval festival in Athenry. They're fab. And last year they were virtual and they commissioned me to make a video on the history of the harp. And I was doing a lot of reading on history in my research for that. And I just became overwhelmed by this sense of loss for what we might have been before colonialism, before Christianity. And I had this deep yearning to try and find hints or the tiniest breadcrumbs left of a trail of what we may have been had there been no external intervention or such significant external intervention as colonialism. Okay. Yeah. So I was thinking to myself, where in Ireland would be like going back in time? And there was a couple of reasons as to this, but I had ended up playing a festival here and I'd ended up being here a few times. And I had always had the thought, God, that place is like stepping back in time. So when in September, I was thinking of where to go for my week's annual holiday, I was like, oh, well, I wanted to step back in time. And I thought that time I was on Inishmaan for a while that it was like stepping back in time, I'll go there. And so I went for a week and it was so deep for me and very nourishing. Yeah. It felt now I'm going to be pragmatic about it as well. I didn't bring enough warm clothes, so I was bloody freezing. You know, hadn't prepared that well, but it still was like touched me enough that I was like, this feels important and it feels like I should be here for a bit longer. I should try and stay closer to this or explore it more, sit with it more. Yeah. So I was really lucky. I was in the pub and we got talking to a lovely young man, John, and he was like, oh, sure, yeah, like, you know, there's going to be houses here available for the winter. Very hard to get one in the summer, but you could get one for the winter. And he just gave us a couple of tips and he gave us the idea. And I was like, why don't we try? So, of course, in the past, I've never lived on, that's not true, actually. I did live on an island before. I did a residential gig on Inishmore for 2 months, like maybe 14 years ago. Around that. But it was summer and okay, you don't need to know all this logistical stuff, but essentially I feel like I hardly lived in Inishmore because I was coming and going so much. I frequently had a gig in the mainland during the day and then would have to leg it back to the island, get the last ferry and play the show at night. And then the next day the same thing. So I feel like I actually wasn't a part of the Inishmore community and I didn't get a true island experience. Whereas this time, of course, COVID was here and I had the potential to move to a remote area. Like I didn't have any gigs. So I was like, right, let me try and take this dark, uncertain time and flip it around and grab the tiniest bit of a silver lining that I can.
Yes, absolutely.
And so even though it made no sense, I was like, I am going to move to an island. So I came for a month and 9 months later, I'm still here because I love it.
I know, I wouldn't blame you. I love it as well. Yeah. I've gone into the Aran Islands many times. I remember Inishmore, I have friends in Inishmore and then Inishore. We went in there, my ex-husband PJ, he played in there with a few more people and I just, totally.
It's a very special place.
Oh, it's very powerful. I do an island hopping tour, so I take in Inishmore and Inishbofin and we go up to Coney Island off Sligo. There's so many beautiful islands, but talking about going back in time, Una, I remember years ago going to Connemara to Rushnamaniach and my ex-brother-in-law, he was learning how to sew the sails for the hooker boats.
Ah, yes.
And he learned it in Inishbarchan from a man that he was there. And we went into Inishbarchan with him in a church. He rode and we jumped off onto the rocks And we go up this hill, and then you're on the top of the hill, and you're looking down at these two golden thatched cottages with the whitewash, and the reeks of turf outside, and you've got your sea, and you've got Ben Bulben. Right, it was saying it was breathtaking doesn't even come close to doing it justice. But we went into one of the cottages, and he lived in one of the cottages, and the Irish that they spoke was older than what you'd hear in Connemara.
Yeah, that's another reason I'm here.
Yeah. I can follow it, but I couldn't follow what they were saying. It was older, and it was, you walk in, and she was cooking on the bacchus with the fire. There was no electricity, and it was literally, I felt like I had gone into Peg Sayers' house. I mean, I literally felt as if I had walked back in time about 100 years.
I'm getting the chills. That sounds so amazing.
It was I'll never forget the feeling of walking into that house, and she had the kettle on the hook over the fire, and she had the bread in the bacchus, in the, what the hell do you call it in English?
The griddle, or do you mean the?
Yeah, the little.
Do you mean the griddle, the kind of metal mesh?
Yeah,
or
it was an actual like a saucepan, but it was a flatter.
Oh, okay.
Anyhow, yeah, she had the turf over it and under it, and oh my God, she made tea for us and bread, soda bread. Oh my God, I never, something, Una. It was a magical hour that I'll never forget.
I can imagine. Yeah,
it was amazing.
And how long ago was that?
Oh my God, that must have been probably 35 years ago.
Yeah, because actually, if you're interested, there's Johnny O'Connelly, his dad, Johnny Connolly, was from Inishbhearchan. Yeah.
Was he from Inishbhearchan?
He was. And
TJ Carr did his wife, PJ, used to play down in on Drine and Down in Spiddle, and we every Friday night, and we used to do set dancing there, and his wife used to come out and dance with me.
Oh, lovely. He was such a gentleman.
Lovely man.
Like, really, in the truest sense of the word.
With Matt Jo Hamish.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, Jay Grow Hanum, Johnny, wherever you are, we're thinking of you.
Yeah, we are.
And but he was from Inishbhearchan, and his son Johnny Oak did a beautiful. So there was this really cool documentary on TG Carr where they followed, I think, around 5 artists, different journeys, and one of them was Johnny O'Connolly, the son of Johnny Connolly, and he returned to Inishbhearchan and played a tune in the house where his father had grown up. It was so, like, I'm getting chills again thinking about it. It was produced by the excellent director A.O. Quillan. It was really good. Yeah. So if you're interested, that could be a nice way to virtually go back in time.
You have toured with dance troupes. What the dance tour would that be? Lord of the Dance, or what's the other one? Riverdance.
They don't have a harp. Michael Flatley, in case you're watching this, you should get a harp.
I don't believe that they don't have the harp. National instrument of Ireland.
They don't have a harp.
Oh my God, Michael.
Yeah, exactly.
Michael's father comes from 5 miles from where I come from. Culfada is the name of the place. And I used to see Michael coming to the Coleman Memorial, actually. Every year Michael would come. And he learned his flute playing from Seamus Tansey, who was my postman. Now, Seamus, and he would be one of the very few who you'd know he sounds like Seamus Tansey, and he used to learn from Patsy Handley as well.
Wow, fascinating. What a great heritage. He was so lucky to have had that opportunity. Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about the drop from the living well,
Oh, absolutely. But Michael, you have to get a harp on your dance tours anymore. But tell me about the Mona.
So I'm a very versatile musician, and I love doing all sorts of things. And I ended up, actually, I'll tell you the funny backstory, because I think it's worth knowing the funny backstory. Yeah. So when I was I was in my early 20s, and I ended up falling in love with this fella over in Canada, right?
As you do.
Yeah, as you do, and it didn't work out, and I came back to Ireland, shall we say, slightly devastated. And I'll never forget it. I was getting this missed phone call from an unknown number, and I just wasn't like very compass mentis. And in all fairness, I was doing a course at the time, so also I was quite busy. So I just kept missing calls for like 3 days. I was like, who is this? What is this? And then finally one day they rang me, and I remember I was in the stalls in the university, and I took the phone call, and this woman goes, I've been trying to get hold of you for ages. And it was this Cockney woman called October Brown, who was based in Canada and was putting together a dance show, and who needed Irish traditional musicians. And because I had been in Canada, she knew my name.
There you go.
I know. So you know what? The romance didn't work out, but I had one of the best professional experiences I've ever had in my life. It's fantastic. So anyone out there who's suffering from anyone out there who's suffering from heartbreak, it is crap, but the most unexpected things will come from it.
Yes. And did you tour Canada, or did you tour all over?
It was actually Europe. It was actually it was Europe. So I did a 5-week tour with them, and then that went really well, and they wanted me back. So I ended up doing a 3-month tour with them, and we did all over. Like we were so busy, May. I still don't remember. Like I actually have the list of places we were, and I'd have to refer to that to tell you where I was. Because I used to joke that I would figure out what country I was in by the chocolate they had in the petrol station when we stopped to go to the toilet. Yeah. That was literally how I figured out where we were. Yeah. It's like, oh, it's Lindt. We must be in Switzerland. What's that? The kind of square one. It's Ritter, I think, for Germany. It was so intense. I think
that's it. That's the thing you do. That's the thing with people that it's all very glamorous to people who are looking from the outside. It's hard work, Una.
All I did was see petrol stations and that's all I saw. I saw the toilets of the petrol stations in many tours in many countries in Europe.
But then you had the great opportunity to support Alan's Tavel.
I did, yeah.
Oh wow.
That was magical. I was so honored to be a part of that. So if you're interested in Celtic culture, you might be aware of this guy called Alan Stivell. He's really single-handedly initiated the Celtic music revival in Brittany, and he plays the harp and has pretty much reinstated that as an instrument in Brittany. And just in case you're not sure, by the way, Brittany is not Britney Spears. It is Brittany, the north of France, and it's a Celtic culture. So there are actually 6 Celtic cultures, formally speaking, linguistically speaking, and they're divided into 2 branches: P Celtic and Q Celtic. Okay, and Q Celtic is Ireland, Manx, and Scotland, and the people from those countries can actually generally get the gist of the others when they're talking. So for example, like I can read Manx, and if I'm around Scots Gaelic for like 48 hours and I listen really intently, I begin to figure out what they're saying.
I can too.
But then P Celtic is Cornwall, Wales, and Brittany, and like my friend from Brittany can get the gist of Welsh people speaking, but when I listen to a Breton person, I'm like,
and for anyone here that doesn't know where Brittany is, for anyone here who doesn't know where Brittany is, it's North France, and they have their own language. And I think at one stage they wanted to kind of break off
Breton.
France. Yeah, I have a friend actually, Rachel Sorzak. She's
Do
you know her? She Rachel is a harpist. She's a brilliant classical guitar player. She plays banjo. She's actually down in Kerry, and she's from Brittany as well. And she speaks Breton and French. So, and she speaks Irish, and she has a PhD in Irish. Let's see, what is it? Well, let's put it this way: she knows all the mythology and all the history of Ireland.
Fascinating. Wow, I'd like to get to know her. Well, she's a really interesting person to team with.
Yeah, because she's down in Kerry. She's a fantastic person, and she's very spiritual, and I think you'd enjoy her. You'd never know. You might be able to work together. Talking about working together, Una, you are in. Are you still in a trio, or are they in? Are they in the lads that you play with? Are they in the islands or are they in the mainland?
We're dormant at the moment. So yeah, you know yourself, bands, life phases, they go in and out of sync with each other. So
Yeah.
we're on a bit of a sleepy moment at the moment, but I'm will definitely be back doing stuff. So I'm in a trio called Imus with the amazing Dirt Teamers from Mayo on accordion and Brewen Favreau from Brittany on pipes.
Okay, brilliant.
And I was asked to, it was actually through Brewen that I ended up being invited to teach at a festival in France. And then I just put the feelers out telling everybody, hey guys, I'm going to be in France if anybody's interested. And then like, I think it was ridiculously like 3 days before I was due to leave or something, I got this email saying, hi, would you be interested in playing support for my 50-year celebration career concert in Olympia in Paris? And I was like,
I know.
yes!
Would I be
Yes, I would.
interested? It's a stupid question.
Let me check my diary.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just such an honor because Alan is such an icon, and he's actually like one of my favorite albums of his is Live in the Olympia, which was made in the 1970s and really kicked off the like Celtic revival in that area. So to commemorate this and to celebrate his 50 years as a performer, he was doing this gig in the Olympia again. And just in case you guys have never heard of it, the Olympia is like, it's like, oh, can I think of an equivalent? It's like Carnegie Hall. It's like the Carnegie Hall of Paris, right? And it was just such an incredible gig. Like there was people queuing up in advance for hours. There was like such an incredible buzz. Everybody was so excited, and his band, of course, are all virtuosi and so expert. And I was the support, and then he asked me to join them for the finale, and then that went on so well that he then invited me to be a guest on his latest album. So that was lovely.
Fantastic, Una! Congratulations. Yeah. So he's
Thank
a
you.
nice guy. So he's a nice guy.
I got on really well with him. Yeah.
And did you have an after party after the concert?
We did. It was so lovely. Like it was very tame, relatively speaking. Like but it was a magical time in the air, and it was very special for me actually because I actually got my parents to come over to come watch the gig. Oh, you know what? There is a kitty here, and the kitty is after bumping against. This is my little. Let's see if we can show you.
Yeah, do show the. Hello, could she?
Oh, can you see me?
No, I can only see your name now.
Oh no! Oh dear! Sorry. When I was saying hello to the cat, then the phone just. Okay, 1 second. We're going to little. There we go. Okay, so hopefully you can see me again now.
I can see you again.
Cool. And the cat, if I just, there we go.
Hey, Kuchi.
Let's get him to say hello. He's actually, I'm quite surprised that he's
shy.
He is a bit shy. They're kind of wild here, but he seems to be.
Hey, Kuchi. Hello, Kuchi. Huh?
I think he likes me because I eat a lot of tuna. I eat tuna, and I always give him the can.
So I wonder
if you're looking for good tuna, Shine. I think it's called Shine's Irish Wild Tuna. Comes in a glass jar, and it is incredible. Oh my word! If you can try that, Shine's Irish Wild Tuna. Phenomenal.
I think it's a website called the Irish Shop. And I think they import a lot of stuff over to America from Ireland. Can you do a quick landscape thing? Show us the real.
Sure.
I'm going to get so homesick now.
So I'm lucky enough to be in this beautiful house, which is on the Inishmore side of Inishbaan. So
yes.
If you can see things in the water in the distance, that's Inishmore. Okay. Yeah. And then I am in a collection of cottages that are 300 years old. So that cottage you can see there in the background, that's got thatched house. That's a thatched house, and it's 300 years old, as is the cottage I'm in. Yeah. And then we can see that we're looking towards Connemara here. So you can see the 12 fens there.
Yeah.
And then that's actually, this is the Teach. Show you. So this is the house of. Let me get it right now. So I point towards you. Yeah, in there in that cluster of houses is the Teach of Peadar Mór, who is a local man who's just got the most beautiful Irish and composes really long, epic poems of Gaeilge. Like they'd be like between 7 and 12 minutes long. And we're really lucky. There's a person who has taken them down. And Peadar has donkeys and a currach, and he has he's an excellent basket maker. He's really wonderful at basket weaving. So yeah, a lot of people here in the island.
Is there any craft people on the island apart from Peadar?
Oh yes. Okay, so Inishbyan is probably most famous for its knitting factory. Yes. So yeah, so of course the Aran Islands, exactly. The Aran Islands in general are famous for their knitting. But this is the only place, so far as I'm aware, where the stuff is actually still commercially produced on the island, and it's just stunning. I'll show you now. Have you I'm sure you've seen, to give you a bit of a pop culture reference, have you heard of Dr. McDreamy from Grey's Anatomy?
I love Grey's Anatomy, but I can't picture
you know the Dr. McDreamy, the really good looking one that Grey was married. I actually don't watch television.
Yes,
but like, just insert good looking person here. Yes. I don't even like the phrase good looking, because good looking is so subjective, but like, mainstream attractiveness. He recently went on Instagram apparently wearing a jumper made by Inishbyan Knitting Company. So it's good enough for Grey's Anatomy, it's good enough for me. No,
well, I was working on, before COVID hit, I was working on a knitting tour, because I wanted to bring people over to the islands and have one of the older locals talk to them about exactly how important the knits were and the patterns of the knits, because for every family on the island, they had their own pattern. And this is how, unfortunately, there's a sad side to this. Most of the people on the islands, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've always been told that most of the people on the islands were fisher. That was their main source of income, was fishermen. They were all out, they'd go out fishing. And of course, a lot, there was always accidents and there was drownings. And sometimes if bodies got lost at sea, the only way, when they were found, the only way of identifying them was the pattern on the jumper.
The jumper, yeah.
That they wore. Every family had their own pattern.
I've heard that too, and I'm going to have to ask, because I am interested to find out if that's true or not.
My ex-mother-in-law used to tell me that, because she knit. She's from Connemara, and she knit Aran sweaters as well, and it would kind of certain stitches would represent certain things. Like, for instance, it might tell you that there were farmers and there were fishermen, because of the way the pattern was. So, I'd love to get that validated by somebody who lives on the island, that would know the real story to it.
Sure. Yeah. And if you were like, I know exactly who you'd go to. There's a couple of amazing knitters here. They're really incredible craftspeople. But one story that came to mind that I heard while here is that so there was okay, let me try and get it straight now. So there was a man on the island, and his he was at that time, it was all arranged marriages, they were match made. And a girl who, they were all wondering who this man, who was quite eligible, was going to be match made with and was going to end up marrying. And he got a gift of a Aran jumper. And everybody was looking at the Aran jumper, all the girls, trying to figure out who had knit it, because they knew that if they could figure out, like, diagnose the patterns, etc., they'd know who his, beloved was, And it was hilarious, because it was actually somebody on this island who was the intended. No, I'm actually not sure if she was from this island, but I think, right, she had deliberately thrown in a couple of stitches from another island just to put them off the scent. So they're all like, "It's definitely a girl from Inishmore. He's marrying some from Inishmore." Meanwhile, she was listening to this going,
Amazing.
yeah, so that's a lovely story I heard in the last few months here. It was just so charming.
Is there how many musicians roughly? I know that there's a couple of musicians in Inishmore. I remember years ago, actually, we were in Inishmore, and there was a man. I think his name was Tom King, if I can remember. He was one of the. I've never heard a voice like it in my life. It was fantastic. Now we're talking about maybe 40 years ago. The man probably is long gone now, but I've had some great sessions in the islands. I only visited Inishmore one day. I never stayed on it. Is there any hotels in Inishmore?
There isn't. So that's one of the reasons Inishmore is like going back in time. It's really fascinating. I always say, like, life rewards you for going the extra mile, and like it literally does here in Inishmore. Like, it's only a mile extra from Inish. So if you look at the three Iron Islands, right, you've got, hopefully my fingers will represent this well. So this is Inishmore, and it's really close to Russellville. Yeah. This is Inisir, and it's really close to Doolin. Okay. Yeah. Inishmore is just a little bit further from both of those ports, yes. Right? Yes. And it's amazing how thousands of people will go to Inisir, thousands of people will go to Inishmore, but I'd say only 5 people will go the extra mile and go to Inishmore. And literally for every 1,000 people that go to one of the other 2 islands, they say 1 person comes here. It's a far smaller tourist population, and probably in cycle with that, there is not any. There is an incredible hotel, shall we say, a venue. No, there's a place called the Inishmore Restaurant and Suites, and they've got 5 suites, which are it's incredibly luxurious, and they're the most beautifully architecturally landscaped building that are set into the rock so cleverly that you'd have to really look to find it. It's the most stunning, ecologically sensitive job I've ever seen, really, and that's one of the most expensive and elite hotels in Ireland, and it's booked out every year in advance, like just a few hours. And it's booked out for a reason. Like, the people who run it are just exceptional at what they do. Rory de Blockham is an award-winning chef, and his partner in crime and life and business is I'm joking when I say partner in crime, they're totally ethical and law-abiding. Yeah. Mary Therese, I'm allowed to say that because I go swimming with her every day. She'll know I'm just messing. So Mary Therese is just the most incredible organizer of unique experiences, and the 2 of them make this magical experience on Inishmore for their visitors. So there's that. But like I said, it's booked out every year in advance in a couple of hours. Still might be worthwhile looking at for yourself or somebody who wants a really special thing in 2 years' time. Yeah,
I know that you can fly into Inishmore. You can take a boat into Inishmore from Russellville, and you can take a boat into Inisheer from Doolin. Does that boat go into Inishmore, or is there a separate boat that goes to Inishmore?
The short answer is yes. Yeah, okay. There is a direct, there's just as much commuting facility to Inishmore as there is Inishmore and Inisir.
Yeah.
And you can fly here as well.
The flora and the fauna in Inishmore is absolutely incredible and unique as well.
It's amazing. It's so biodiverse. Like, before I came here, I was really not very plugged into the natural world. And as I say it myself, over in Crockwell, where it's like pretty relatively good farming land and there's lots of fertilizer, there'd be nary an onion, you'd see this vast swathe of green, which of course is fantastic if you just want to feed cattle, but not potentially excellent if you're thinking of ecological sustainability and biodiversity. But here, like, you just see the most, it's remarkable. So you have these tiny fields. So just to let you guys know, actually, there is they had to build all their own earth from scratch here. Okay, so what they did is, this was bare rock, and they got a collection of seaweed and sand and cow dung, and they mixed it all together to make their own earth, and they still have to do it to this day. So you've got these tiny, and then you see this is bare rock, so they had to clear the rock, and then they had to figure out some place to put the rock. So they have very small fields with very high walls. And what happens is they move the high walls are there for two reasons. I think it's first of all to use up the rock, and then secondly it's to protect against the very extreme winds that come here during winter, and thus stop that hard won earth from blowing away.
Yeah.
And they rotate their cattle every 2 to 3 days between these tiny fields. And that has the result that the fields are rested quite well. But then also, it's really cute. The cattle, oh man, they're like your pals. They're like pets more than animals. Like they're patty. They're just, they're so alert and attentive, and they're so used to being handled. They're like people. It's amazing. Yeah.
And look at the $1 million view they have. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's spectacular.
Really, it is amazing. It's an amazing place to live. You're very, very lucky. Are you going to stay?
I'm taking it second by second, baby, just like everybody else in the world at the moment. You know.
I know.
Who knows what's going to happen? But you know what? Aren't we lucky? We're trying to do our best, and that's all that's important.
Absolutely, Una. Well, it was an absolute pleasure talking to you. So
Likewise.
I know you're on a break from teaching at the moment, but if people want to keep up with Una, she's got a Facebook page, and I have
a website.
And
I've got a website, and it's really nice.
Una.ie.
It's una.ie. So Una, as in tuna. It's just a coincidence. I mentioned the other fish earlier, I swear. So it's una.ie. And if you would like to follow me, it would be my pleasure to meet you and to engage with you. And you can just sign up there, and we'll be in contact when I have recordings, or you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, all the usuals. And I'm at Una Ni Harp. So UNANIHARP. And the links to that are on my website as well.
And Una, whenever I get back again, and if I get the island hopping tour up and running, I'll contact you, and you might pop over to Inishmore and give us a few tunes, and we'll sing a few songs.
Oh, that would be so magical. Nice. Bring it on.
Yes. All right. Gur míle maith Una.
Gur míle maith hain mé isteach an cura agus gnáirí leat leis an gcuid eile den strátáil seo.
Agus tú féin.
Gur míle cara. Slán.
Thank you very much, Una, for joining me, and thank you everybody who has tuned in to listen to our Chatting Up the Irish today. If you have any questions to put to Una, or you have any comments to make, please feel free to put them down below. Please like and share, and tell everybody about Chatting Up the Irish. It's fantastic to be able to have this opportunity to interview and chat with all of my Irish friends, and to be able to share their experiences and their interests and their talents with you. So once again, please share, like, and make comments. This program is sponsored by Secret Ireland Tours LLC.com. So if you want to check out any of our tours for the coming year, please go to the website www.secretirelandtoursllc.com and have a browse through the website. There's some fantastic videos. There's different tours, different places, different prices, different lengths, and we can accommodate you if you want a particular tour yourself with a unique itinerary that suits your needs. We would be delighted to have a chat with you and bring you to places like the Aran Islands, and bring you to places that we have talked about in these series. Okay, thank you very much. Tune in again next week. Bye.